Be angry and do not sin. Do not let the sun go down on your anger. Ephesians 4:26. This verse from the Bible reminds us that anger is a natural emotion, but it must be managed carefully. Anger, a powerful emotion, a double-edged sword. It can surge through us like a wildfire, burning everything in its path. It can be destructive, consuming us with rage and bitterness. When left unchecked, anger can lead to actions and words we later regret. But it can also be a catalyst for change, a sign that something is wrong and needs to be addressed. Anger can motivate us to stand up against injustice, to fight for what is right. The Bible doesn't shy away from the reality of anger, but it teaches us to handle it in a godly way. We all experience anger. It's a part of being human. It's a natural human response to injustice, hurt, or frustration. When we feel wronged or see others suffering, anger can be a natural reaction. But how we respond to anger makes all the difference. Do we let it fester and grow, or do we seek healthy ways to express and resolve it? Do we let it control us, leading us down a path of destruction? Anger can cloud our judgment, making us act impulsively. Or do we turn to God, seeking His guidance and strength to overcome it? Through prayer and reflection, we can find the wisdom to handle our anger constructively. The Bible offers many teachings on anger, reminding us to be slow to anger and quick to listen. It encourages us to seek peace and understanding. By turning to God and following His teachings, we can transform our anger into a force for good. We can use it to build bridges, to heal wounds, and to create positive change in our lives and the lives of others. Let us remember that while anger is a natural emotion, it is how we handle it that defines us. With God's help, we can navigate our anger and use it to bring about a better world.
The Bible speaks of both righteous and unrighteous anger. These two forms of anger are like a two-edged sword, each with the power to either build up or tear down. Righteous anger is fueled by a passion for justice, a hatred for sin, and a deep-seated desire to see what is wrong made right. It is an anger that is not self-serving but is instead focused on the greater good. This kind of anger motivates us to take action, to stand up for those who cannot stand up for themselves, and to protect the innocent from harm. It is an anger that is rooted in love and compassion. Think of Jesus overturning the tables of the money changers in the temple, as described in John chapter 2, verses 13 to 17. His actions were not born out of a desire to harm, but out of a deep love for his Father's house and a desire to see it used for its intended purpose. His anger was righteous, driven by love for his Father's house, and a desire to see it used for its intended purpose. It was an anger that sought to restore holiness and reverence to a place that had been corrupted by greed and selfishness. Unrighteous anger, on the other hand, is selfish and destructive. It is an anger that is focused on self-interest and personal gain rather than the well-being of others. It stems from pride, envy, or a desire for revenge. This kind of anger is not concerned with justice or righteousness, but with satisfying one's own desires and emotions. It seeks to harm rather than heal, to tear down rather than build up. It is an anger that divides rather than unites, creating rifts and conflicts that can be difficult to mend. This kind of anger is a dangerous fire that can consume us and those around us. It can lead to actions and words that we later regret, causing pain and suffering to ourselves and others. In the end, the choice between righteous and unrighteous anger is ours to make. We can choose to let our anger be a force for good, driving us to stand up for what is right and just. Or we can let it consume us, leading us down a path of destruction and regret. The Bible calls us to be slow to anger and to seek righteousness in all that we do, using our anger as a tool for justice and love, rather than a weapon of harm and division.
The Bible is filled with stories of individuals who wrestled with anger. These narratives are not just historical accounts, but are rich with lessons that are still relevant today. They show us the human condition in its rawest form, and how even the most devout can struggle with powerful emotions. Moses, known for his meekness, let anger get the best of him, striking the rock twice in defiance of God, as told in Numbers chapter 20, verses 7 to 12. This act of disobedience was not just a momentary lapse, but a significant event that demonstrated the consequences of letting anger override faith and obedience. His outburst cost him dearly, preventing him from entering the promised land. This was a harsh lesson that even leaders chosen by God are not immune to the repercussions of their actions. Moses' story is a poignant reminder that anger can lead to irreversible consequences, affecting not just the individual, but also those they lead. King Saul, consumed by jealousy and rage, relentlessly pursued David, seeking to kill him, as described in 1 Samuel chapters 18 to 19. Saul's anger was not just a fleeting emotion, but a consuming fire that dictated his actions and clouded his judgment. Saul's anger blinded him to reason and righteousness, ultimately leading to his downfall. His inability to control his emotions led to a tragic end, showing us that unchecked anger can destroy even the most powerful and privileged among us. These stories serve as cautionary tales, reminding us of the destructive power of uncontrolled anger. They are not just tales of the past, but are relevant to our lives today, teaching us the importance of self-control and the dangers of letting anger dictate our actions. They teach us that even the most faithful among us are susceptible to its grip, and that we must be vigilant in guarding our hearts against its influence. By reflecting on these stories, we can learn to recognize the signs of anger within ourselves and take steps to address it before it leads to destructive outcomes. The Bible offers not just warnings, but also guidance on how to cultivate a spirit of patience, forgiveness, and love, which are the antidotes to anger.
So, how do we overcome anger? How do we prevent it from controlling our thoughts, words, and actions? The Bible offers us practical guidance on how to tame this powerful emotion. First, we need to recognize the triggers that ignite our anger. What situations, people, or thoughts tend to set us off? Once we identify our triggers, we can start to develop strategies for managing them. Next, we must learn to respond to anger in a healthy way. This means choosing not to react in the heat of the moment, but taking time to cool down, pray, and seek wise counsel.
Section 5. Forgiveness, the balm for a burning heart. Forgiveness is essential for overcoming anger. Holding on to anger and resentment is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. It only harms us in the end. When we choose to forgive, we release the offender from our judgment and choose to let go of the bitterness. Forgiveness doesn't excuse the wrong that was done, but it frees us from the grip of anger and allows us to move forward in healing.
Section 6. Patience, a shield against the flames of fury. Patience is another powerful antidote to anger. When we are patient, we choose to respond to difficult situations with calmness and understanding, rather than with frustration and rage. Cultivating patience takes practice. It means learning to pause before reacting, to choose our words carefully, and to extend grace to others, even when they don't deserve it.
Section 7. Self-control reigning in the raging storm. Self-control is the ability to master our emotions, rather than being controlled by them. It's about choosing to respond to situations in a way that aligns with our values and beliefs, rather than giving in to our impulses. Self-control is like a muscle. The more we exercise it, the stronger it becomes. When we practice self-control in our thoughts, words, and actions, we are better equipped to handle anger in a healthy and constructive way.
Section 8. My journey, my struggle, finding peace in the midst of anger. I, like everyone else, have struggled with anger in my own life. There have been times when I've allowed it to get the best of me, saying and doing things I later regretted. Through these experiences, I've learned the importance of turning to God for help in overcoming anger. I've discovered the power of prayer, the importance of seeking forgiveness, and the transformative power of grace.
Section 9. Your story, your strength sharing to heal and grow. Your story matters too. If you're struggling with anger, know that you're not alone. Sharing your struggles with a trusted friend, family member, or counselor can be a powerful step towards healing. Remember, there is no shame in seeking help. In fact, it takes courage to acknowledge our weaknesses and to reach out for support.
Section 10. Hope for the angry heart, a promise of peace. The journey to overcoming anger may not be easy, but it is possible. With God's help, we can learn to manage this powerful emotion and prevent it from controlling our lives. Remember the words of Philippians 4:6-7. Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. There is hope for the angry heart. Through faith, forgiveness, and self-control, we can find freedom from the grip of anger and experience the peace that God promises.